Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking a truly intense set of data today. We're looking at a day of extreme physical contrasts unfolding coast to coast for August 7th, 2026. From crushing, record-breaking heat to volatile severe storms, we're going to map out exactly what's happening across the country. And then you'll definitely want to stick around because we're wrapping up with a crucial digest of the AI tech sector, where the landscape is literally shifting right under our feet. So get ready because we've got a lot of ground to cover and today's data is absolutely striking. Okay, let's dive into this. 57. As of today, Miami has officially broken its record by hitting a staggering 57-day streak of temperatures reaching 90 degrees or higher. I mean, think about that. That's nearly 2 unbroken months of intense, relentless heat. And it's not just the temperature we're looking at. It's the inland storms that fire up by early afternoon and then drift right back toward the coast by the evening. This 57-day streak, it's really our baseline for understanding the massive atmospheric engines at work across the nation right now. So, to make sense of all this, here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, we'll look at the expanding heat dome. Then, we'll cover severe storms and flooding. After that, we'll tackle wildfires and drifting smoke. And finally, be sure to stick around for number 4, today's AI tech update. All right, Chapter 1, the expanding heat dome, baking the West and South. Right now, a massive area of high pressure is just locked in place, and it's fundamentally altering daily life for millions of people. Over in Texas, Dallas is sitting at a hot 101 degrees, and this high-pressure system is keeping rain chances at absolute zero all the way through next Thursday. And this brilliantly illustrates the terrifying escalation of temperatures we're seeing out in the desert Southwest. Look at Phoenix, sitting near a dangerous 112 degrees. Las Vegas is hitting 113 degrees, which, by the way, officially marks its 10th consecutive day at or above 110. And Lake Havasu is baking at a staggering 116 degrees. Because of this, the entire region is under an extreme heat warning straight through Sunday. But the extremes actually peak right here. Death Valley is approaching 121 degrees today. But you know what makes this data so alarming? It's not just these crazy daytime highs. It's what is happening at night. Across California and the Southwest, regions like Yuma are pushing toward 114 degrees under this relentless sun, but they are getting practically zero overnight cooling. Down in the Central Valley, from Redding through Fresno and Bakersfield, temps are just hovering between 104 and 108 degrees. Without that overnight relief, the heat just compounds, day after dangerous day. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it compares the physical realities of different types of heat. Over in Austin, Texas, they're baking at 102 degrees, but it's a dry heat. Contrast that with New Orleans. They have a lower air temperature of 94 degrees, but the air is totally saturated, pushing the heat index up to a really oppressive, dangerous 106 degrees. From Baton Rouge over to Mobile and Pensacola, that humidity is relentless right across the Gulf Coast, and it's actively feeding these daily afternoon storms. Moving on to Chapter 2. Severe storms and flooding, the volatile East and Midwest. So while the West and South bake under all that high pressure, the eastern half of the nation is dealing with a super heavy, saturated boundary layer. Think of this atmospheric moisture like rocket fuel for unsettled, volatile weather across the Midwest and East Coast. In the Northeast, cities like Boston are sitting in the lower 80s under a weak onshore flow, and that's actually trapping heat over places like New York City. NYC is looking at a muggy, unstable day with highs near 86, but a heat index pushing 98. Meanwhile, over in the Midwest, Chicago is hitting the upper 80s as a slow-moving front brings heavy rain and the threat of severe storms. And down in Philadelphia and Washington, they're under a convective setup, meaning that saturated boundary layer is just fueling those afternoon thunderstorms. So the crucial point is how these atmospheric setups translate to the real world. For communities in northern New Jersey, specifically places like Morristown, Somerville, and Flemington, this isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a direct threat. These areas are highly vulnerable today because the ground is still completely saturated from yesterday's flooding. With the current environment, any of those slow-moving storms we just talked about could instantly trigger new flash flood issues. Which brings us to Chapter 3, Wildfires and Drifting Smoke, the Fallout of the Extremes. When you combine an expanding heat dome with practically zero rainfall, the physical environment just starts to break down. We're seeing the direct fallout of these extremes manifesting as severe wildfire hazards. Over in the Mountain West, Casper is hitting 103 degrees, creating absolutely critical fire weather. Across Wyoming, red flag warnings are active because they're seeing single-digit humidity paired with gusty winds. I mean, those are the exact ingredients that drive explosive fire behavior. And further west, The fuel dryness in the Sierra Nevada foothills is approaching near-record territory. The landscape out there is essentially a giant tinderbox right now. And because everything in our atmosphere is interconnected, a fire in one state quickly becomes an air quality crisis in another. Active fires east of the Cascades and across the Columbia Basin are pumping massive amounts of smoke into the air. That smoke is heavily impacting Spokane at 85 degrees and Boise at 93 degrees, bringing really poor air quality. But it doesn't stop there. That smoke is drifting thousands of miles eastward. It's literally turning the skies hazy all the way out in Fargo and Sioux Falls in the Midwest. It's incredible how far it travels. Okay, let's move to and see how this builds into Chapter 4. Today's AI tech update, the rapid pace of innovation. Beyond our physical climate, there's another landscape shifting at blistering speed. To really grasp where we are in the tech sector today, we have to map out the progression of just the last few weeks, because the pace is staggering. Look at this timeline. On July 10th, OpenAI launches GPT 5.6. Just 5 days later, on July 15th, a massive legal filing drops as the New York Times seeks sanctions against OpenAI. And then, jumping in just a few days ago, on August 3rd, the international landscape completely shifts when moonshot Kimi K3 successfully matches frontier US models. This entire timeline, it spans less than a single month. Talk about a whirlwind. Taking a closer look at OpenAI, we see a company navigating a really complex dual reality. On the innovation side, they've taken a huge aim at enterprise knowledge workers by debuting a unified AI workspace called ChatGPT Work. It's a massive leap in enterprise tech. But simultaneously, on the legal side, they're facing some serious hurdles. They're currently dealing with that court filing from the New York Times, which alleges OpenAI withheld training data evidence. It is a perfect snapshot of the friction we're seeing right now between rapid technological deployment and complex legal frameworks. But the most crucial update for our global understanding comes from this August 3rd data point. The artificial intelligence race is fully global now, and the US is facing direct, formidable international competition. The Chinese AI model Moonshot Kimi K3 hasn't just matched frontier US models. It now officially dominates OpenRouter's top 10. So the landscape of who leads the AI frontier is no longer just a localized assumption. It is a rapidly shifting global reality. Which brings us to the core of today's explainer. We started out by mapping an unyielding 57-day heat wave, an expanding dome of 110-plus degree temperatures, and an atmosphere saturated enough to trigger daily flash floods. And then we finished by tracing an AI sector that is redefining global dominance in a matter of weeks. When you look at these two massive forces side by side, our volatile physical climate extremes and the blinding speed of our technological advancements, it leaves us with one vital question to consider. Are we adapting fast enough to our rapidly shifting reality? Thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer, and as always, keep questioning the data around you.